Welcome to the VR Expert Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Coles, Marketing Director at VR Expert. And in this podcast, we'll be sitting down with innovators, experts, and creators transforming the XR world. In today's podcast, I'm delighted to be joined by Leland Hedges, not long after the official announcement of the Pico 4 VR headset. Leland is the General Manager of Pico XR in the EMEA regions. Leland is a product innovator, product strategy expert with multiple years of experience in product launches, consumer segment strategizing, and roadmap development at companies like Sony, Virtually Live, and now Pico. Pico XR, you may be asking? Pico XR believes that virtual reality will lead the next wave of innovation, reshape our everyday life and how we perceive and think about this world. The company is doing this through a commitment to R&D, production, and sales of VR experts, specifically focusing on the VR all-in-one segment. With that, welcome, Leland. And as I ask all of our guests, how did you get into technology?
I was super interested in tech my whole life, but living in America on the East Coast, tech seemed very far away. And then I had this really lucky opportunity in my career to go to this part of the world that I'd never heard of called Mountain View and work with an engineering team in one of the offices that eventually became part of the Googleplex. So it wasn't working with Google, but it was like right across the street from what was a single Google building at the time. And then I knew I wanted to move to the West Coast after my experience doing this, having this chance to work there for this healthcare job. and then I basically got a graduate degree MBA from Berkeley, and Berkeley is one of the best technology business programs in the world. And I took my focus was on tech, but specifically I wanted to do digital media and gaming, and found myself applying to like all kinds of different gaming companies. And I joined Sony, and ironically, I had never owned a Sony product before. So the first thing I did was I went to Best Buy and bought a PS3 so that I could say honestly to my now employer that I knew the product and knew what I was talking about. But yeah, I worked at Sony for a while, almost a decade, and got to do a lot of cool stuff. But the most cool by far was VR, working on Project Morpheus. And once I saw VR and understood what virtual reality could do as a tech, not just for gaming. I mean, I came to VR as a how can I make it work for gaming? And then my journey since then has been basically what are all the other ways that people can use VR for a type of social activities, which was Virtually Live, attending virtual events that were connected to real world events. And then now with Pico, as you know, we've announced a lot of stuff over the last couple weeks. The last 2 months have been filled with announcements. So we have a whole new platform called the Pico 4. And the Pico 4, the standard model, is for the best entry point into virtual reality for consumers, with a big focus on gaming, but also fitness, video, social. And then we just announced a week ago the Pico 4 Enterprise, which is going to bring all the size and weight and the improvement in the optics to our enterprise customers. And obviously VR Expert is one of the main partners for Pico in the enterprise space and has become also one of our main partners in the consumer space. So VR Expert and Pico have been working together, I think, for almost 5 years now. And we're really the Pico 4 Enterprise we announced the price, and at the price point, it's the most affordable next-gen business-oriented device available. And it checks a lot of the same boxes as some other products that have been announced as well. Many of them, actually, you need to buy additional accessories. So we think for under €1,000, you're getting just fantastic value with that product. And anyway, that's my combining with my journey into virtual reality plus a little bit of pitch for our new product.
Well, that leads us perfectly then onto a bit more about Pico 4. So tell us how both have been received. So you have the consumer device and you have the enterprise device. How have they been received so far in the market? Because for me, this is the most excited the VR world, or it feels like the VR world is back to day one when the Oculus Rift came.
Yeah, I would say the original, somewhere between the original Kickstarter and the CV1, the first Rift, and you had the HTC Vive, and you had multiple companies at a similar point offering similar price point, but very different bundles of features. So the best thing I can say is that the Pico 4 as a platform, we have chosen to position the Pico 4 standard model, the consumer model, is obviously being viewed as the competitor to the Quest 2, but it's a brand new product. We didn't, its price is more affordable than that other product. And the content library, we're announcing we just announced like yesterday that we have a timed exclusive. We're going to be announcing that the store is updating 7 new games tomorrow. Like, we're publishing basically 5 to 7 games, 5 to 10 games every week for the store. So our store is very quickly catching up to the other major standalone store on the market. So yeah, the Pico 4 is a brand new device that if you're sitting this holiday and you live in Europe or you live in other parts of Asia and you're thinking like, I want to try VR for the first time, we think it's a no-brainer that people should, which of the current products available to the consumer market, we think the Pico 4 is the obvious choice. Then we took this Pico 4, added a bunch of additional functionality, improved things like the memory, added the face tracking, the eye tracking, and those cutting edge features are what we think is necessary to deliver a great enterprise experience. And so the Pico 4 Enterprise is competing against a different category of products, right? So you've got an enterprise-oriented device from HTC. You've got, in my mind at least, the newest headset from Meta is targeting a professional use case, but going through a standard consumer retail channel, which is so. And then you have other products that will be coming to the market in the near future from like Lenovo. I don't know. So our planning, our positioning of the product in the market is that it needs to be the easiest to deploy, to get to scale. We have a very aggressive price with it, even though it's an enterprise product. So we think it will continue to build on the success that the Neo 3 Pro and Pro Eye products have had. And for some customers, they will still prefer to maintain their relationship with the Neo 3 Pro or Pro Eye. If they've started a project that continues to grow, those are great platforms. And then even we still have the G2 4K as well. So, we offer like the largest portfolio or lineup of devices as well. That's another kind of unique characteristic about Pico.
And then for people who haven't fully gotten to grasp with the Pico 4, where does it fit into the lineup compared to the Neo 3 Pro and Neo 3 Link then? What are of course you said easily first-time users, easy to use, but what are the strengths of each device if you were making a decision?
Sure. Well, let's start with the Link and the Pico 4, because those are the two consumer. So the Pico 4, we think that the use case or the type of person that will get the most will view this device as being the most valuable to them is going to be a first-time VR person who wants to consume the content from the standalone store. So we need to get to a certain scale, which is what we've been doing for the last 9 months, to have like the best store experience. Plus, we're working on these fitness trackers. Plus, so we have a unique value proposition around fitness. We are up to 600 videos that you can watch for free in the Pico Video app. We're working on Pico Worlds, which is our social environment. So the Pico 4 is one of those devices we think people will look back and say, like the first smartphone I ever got or the first computer I ever got. We think a Pico 4 represents that kind of setting of the technology standard in VR. Whereas the Link is much more open, accessible. It's got the DP cable included. It is meant to be for somebody who's been playing around with VR for a long time. In our mind, the perfect Link customer is somebody who has one of the original Rift or HTC Vive, or they got one of the Windows mixed reality headsets. And those products are like 3, 4, 5 years old. They want to see improvement in the resolution, but they want to still access and get the best possible image quality from their PC library. So the Link is for, really for PC VR type customers, whereas the Pico 4 is for first time, general, mainstream, someone who's interested in buying their first VR headset. Let's put it that way. Then in terms of the other side of the business, there, as you brought up, we have the Neo 3 Pro, the Pro I. They share the same processor as the Pico 4 Enterprise. So moving between the devices, if you're an app developer, is relatively seamless because you're dealing with basically the same underlying SDK and technology stack. The Neo 3 Pro is more affordable than the Pico 4 Enterprise. So if you are looking for a robust technology, like if you need to buy 1,000 Neo 3 Pros and have them delivered before the end of the year, the Neo 3 Pro is the right product for you at this moment in time. Because the Pico 4 Enterprise, we're only taking pre-orders in November. We're going to be delivering the first early samples in December. We'll be getting to scale early next year. So the Pico 4 Enterprise is still at the beginning of its journey to being a scalable product, whereas the Neo 3 Pro is exactly in the sweet spot of its product life cycle. And it competes directly in terms of price with the Quest 2. So if you're thinking about deploying Quest 2 in a business environment, but you're worried about issues related to device management or other, you just can't find someone who can sell you the bulk quantities that you need and can't set up the devices VR Expert is the number one partner with Pico for device setup and for managing and for if you wanted to customize the devices from, we don't do any direct device customization. We work with partners like VR Expert to do that. So the Neo 3 Pro is a at scale product today, and then in the future that will become the Pico 4 Enterprise. But for the differentiation between the two is mostly down to price and the ability to deliver the product at scale.
That's fantastic, and I think it's very nice that you also aren't getting rid of your old products. You're maintaining the older or the Neo 3 Pro. I call it old generation. It's only a year old. So it allows a nice transition and it won't be gone because that's something you see with other companies. It's gone when a new product comes. So I think that's a very strong part of Pico. But then that comes into a very good question. You guys are constantly innovating. So every year there's new headsets, or at least for the last 3-4 years, it's been just like that and constantly updating. How did you guys actually get to the Pico 4? Because if you look at the Pico Neo 3 Pro to the 4, it's a huge step in terms of the ergonomics, the lightweightness, the display. How do you guys do that? And what were the challenges, if you don't mind elaborating?
There is a lot of R&D happening in identical places, or lots of people were trying to perfect and figure out how to manufacture. The move from Fresnel to Pancake is being done across every company that is working on this technology. We had even shown a prototype of a Pancake back at CES 2020. So inside of the R&D labs, we had been working on micro displays and Pancake optics for more than 2 years. It comes down to very specific and nuanced, the glue that you use to make to merge the different lenses together to make sure that the light gets passed through correctly. There were a lot of very specific innovations that had to happen in optics that the idea, we all knew what we wanted to achieve in terms of size and weight and form factor and increasing the resolution of the displays and improving the color quality. But it takes time. Many iterations before you can mass produce this technology and also achieve certain goals around the economics. So this was the right time to release what we thought would be this big improvement, but we also didn't want to have it priced. We wanted to make sure we could also achieve certain cost goals as well. So that's why it all came together this period of time based on the R&D work plus based on manufacturing, the manufacturing process. Let's leave it at that.
That's very fair. And that leads on to the point. So you guys have been innovating, pushing, finding new price points and growing. I haven't seen a company growing at such a fast pace, but maintaining such levels. So hats off to you. When I met all the new employees, I'm still trying to catch up.
Yeah, I know.
But you guys announced a lot of new things. So Pico World, the inbuilt fitness, that it's going to continue growing, all these exclusives. So if we would sit down in a year from now, what would be the things that when we look back on, you would be most proud of or think you would have achieved as Pico?
You mean in terms of the content? I think, or let's put it this way, the stuff that is still to be released, a lot of it is in the world of social and live events and live video, live concerts. You can see, I have seen, and you can see internally, we've already started recording and capturing like live events, concerts in China, where the entire concert is done without an audience. It's filmed and imagined with VR first. And so you can start doing some really interesting things about how you stage it, where you put the cameras, how you can hide, and how you can capture audio that's more pure, let's say. So I think the thing that will, of course, I love playing certain games, and for even something as simple as Puzzling Place, I've sunk way too much time into that thing. But the moments that will be the breakthrough moments for me is when I'm sitting in a virtual environment with a large group of other Pico users, and we're watching a concert, or we're participating in some event that's happening in Pico World. So for me, if you look at the 12-month horizon, the most exciting stuff will happen in the next 3 to 6 months as we roll out our live events and concerts. And, there's a lot of stuff happening with the fitness trackers and working with famous celebrities, people who have created an audience, and then they can come in and they can record, fitness routines, or they can. So anyway, how we work with creators and people who are trying to make new things in VR. The stuff outside of gaming, I think, is where we're going to see that, people have been wondering what is the killer app for VR. And I have always believed it's going to be something in the social part of VR VR chat is already, and Rec Room and Roblox. Already we're seeing hybrid gaming social environments are definitely where you're seeing the most repeat behavior, and people are coming back every day, and they're building a relationship with their avatars and all this cool stuff. But for me, it's the social and the live events where there is the most opportunity to really wow people. Again, if you think who the audience for Pico 4 is, it's somebody who's never tried VR before. So there's also just a huge catalog of VR cinema that these people have never tried. They've never. So it's cool. We get to expose basically 8 years worth of content to a whole new group of people.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time, Leland. Is there anywhere where can people follow you if they want to keep up to date with Pico and yourself?
More Pico stuff than me. I'm kind of a hermit online. LinkedIn is where I probably talk about the most Pico stuff. It's just my first and last name. LinkedIn should be easy to find. We have a Twitter account that Pico has a Twitter account. Also, we have a LinkedIn account, TikTok account, and we have a Discord as well. So if somebody's an owner of one of our products, especially either the Link or the Pico 4, it's hopefully relatively easy to find the information to be able to join our Discord server. That's really focused on the consumer business. For the enterprise business, the best thing is LinkedIn for sure.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. I'll add the links to all of those channels in the show notes. Thank you for your time, Leland. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope all of the listeners learned a lot and had a lot of fun, and we will see you all next time.
Thanks.